Welcome to the Week in Italian Startup, where we discuss the latest highlights happening in the Italian tech and investment ecosystem. Welcome everyone to the special edition of the Week in Italian Startups. Today we have two amazing feats. Feat number one, it's Nicolo's 100th newsletter out, so good job, Nicolo. I have my bottle of sparkling wine over here that we got. I'm gonna drink for you, so thank you. That's good. Any comments?
Thank you. I expected you would keep it fresh for me to come and drink together, but thank you anyways. Thank you very much.
Awesome. And for this special edition, we sort of like took the things to the next level by inviting two great colleagues in the industry, Ubaldo and Matteo, which also keep a very close eye to what is happening in Italy. And they've been issuing like some quarterly review on the ecosystem in Italy, and there are some great data. So the idea today is to come up with a great discussion. So Ubaldo, Matteo, welcome.
Ciao everyone. Thank you very much for the invitation, and thank you, Nicola, for keeping us updated and giving us the sources to draft this report.
Awesome.
Hello everyone, guys.
Excellent. So with that said, let's start. Let's go straight to the point. Let's see who wants to start. But my question to you is, what is the most impressive element of Q1 for 2022? Give me something. Quick and dirty.
Scala Pay.
Scala Pay. Okay.
Yes. I mean, we need something that makes the headline.
Yeah. Go ahead, Matteo.
Thank you. In the previous report, we asked for some first success stories, and we finally had one. So Scala Pay is the first really Italian unicorn, and so we are really happy to see it. And so we get the inspiration from this wonderful news.
Awesome. So let's go systematic and see exactly some numbers over here. So it's good. I like the fact that you guys separate equity and debt, where actually debt still play a big role, I would say. So the idea to focus on equity is about 572 million euros, which has been deployed into 71 funding rounds. So yeah, that's how it is in terms of the past maybe 2 to 3 years. Do we have any numbers on that compared to what has been happening? Like, do you have a feel?
I mean, if I remember correctly, 2020 we had a total amount of around 800 million deployed over the whole year. So we're already more than halfway there. If we just consider the equity round, and we actually have already overcome that sum if we consider equity and debt. For 2021, if I remember well, we were at the level of 1.5 billion or around that figure. So if we keep this pace with 500 plus for quarter, we were able actually to reach more than 2 billion this year, which would be amazing, and it would really put Italy on the radar of foreign investors.
Fantastic.
This is a wonderful news indeed, as you can see from the nice background of Ubaldo, which is Paris. We always like to do the comparison and with France. And so basically Italy in 2022, probably we reach almost 2.5 billion in terms of VC funding. And we will reach what France made in 2017. So we are still lagging behind 5 years, but this is a wonderful news because we really think that it's the right moment to invest in presidency startups here in Italy. And so we are registering a huge vivacity of our ecosystem. So we are really happy about it.
Fantastic. Let's jump into the verticals then at this point. I think it was very interesting, the work that you guys done in terms of the sectors and divided by funding rounds and total amounts. And it's interesting to see how you know the sort of the balance of the two. Yeah. So in terms of absolute deployment of capital, Fintech and insurtech are still like sort of major verticals, but in terms of funding rounds, then life science actually takes the lead. So that's an interesting comparison actually.
Yeah,
Any comments on this one?
Yeah. If I may jump in, this is somewhat comparable to the European scenario that we saw on the State of European Tech from last year, where fintech was leading the rounds in terms of size. So we are consistent, at least. Ubaldo, please, Matteo.
Yes, I mean, my only regret here is that Italy seems to be very strong at life sciences, where I really understood nothing about life sciences. So I know I'm losing a big opportunity.
That is true indeed. Yes, we have an history and a background in life sciences and biotech. Not our bread and butter.
And even fintech, we really like that is on track on it's happening internationally. So both in the US and in Europe. And what we can say here is that basically fintech will even lead the new unicorns, the unicorns, because we recently saw an article from Tech that stated that there are like 235 companies which are really close to become unicorns, and not the majority, but a lot of them are. That is Satispay, and indeed we mentioned this kind of company, and we are really eager to see if this company will become part of this kind of list. Basically, they are companies which have a valuation around 285 million, while a funding of 125 million. So there are 253 startups that they claim and they believe that they will be unicorn. And so basically in Italy, we have just one. In France, we have 23. In Germany, 25 unicorns. So we hope that in this list, a lot of companies will be Italian as well.
So basically what you're saying is that we've got Scalapay, we have Satispay, and then there's the desert behind them, at least in the short term.
In the short term, yes, but maybe in the long term, no. And we hope that one of them is one of our portfolio companies as Plug and Play. We bake Sibyl, so we wish good luck to the founders.
Awesome. So we have some average skewers being Scalapay or Satispay that kind of messed up some of the numbers, including Nicolo's portfolio tracker, which is, I always tell him, is biased because of Scalapay. It's just too jumpy. But yeah, that's what it is. So yeah, awesome. Let's talk about the most active investor, which also has been extremely interesting. So we have the usual suspect, which is CDP, of course. It's been probably the most active investor of Italy in the last, I would say, 2 years, 3 years, maybe more or less. Followed by Lifty, which has been so it started like way later than CDP, of course, but a huge rate of investments that I don't think it has many precedents in Italy, and they've been doing like extremely well and extremely strategic. So I mean, when me and Nicolo we talk about Lifty, we're always impressed because these guys are really. They know exactly how they're working and where they want to invest. So that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and think about it in terms of difference of scale. So CDP is a huge team spread across different funds. Lifty is one team and a holding company. So that's quite impressive in terms of comparing the two.
Yeah.
Ubaldo, Matteo, please.
Yes, I think that there are a really nice new reality on the Italian VC scene. Also because they do a lot of things. They do both software and hardware. They also are active in climate tech and biotech and really hard stuff that maybe some other investor like myself struggle to understand. So I think that it adds a very nice diversity to the Italian VC scene. So I'm always glad to see new deals by them.
Yes, and it's even touring based, and so we can directly jump to the next part. And so the main startup hubs, we registered Milan as the first one and Turin as the second one. So happy to see more players there, and even in Rome, which ranks third. And so this is about Lifty, and we are really happy to see CDP Ventures as well, since we ask for continuous support of the state and of the institutions, and we are really happy to announce and to see the announcement of the additional 2.5 billion that will be assigned to CDP Ventures. So I think it's really important to have the state that bake us as well.
Interesting. Milan still remains though the sort of the capital of tech in Italy by a great scale, I would say, compared to any other ecosystem. But that's good. So the growth definitely of other cities will raise up like all the rest. So that's good.
Yeah. So I mean, if I can add something to that point,
of course.
I really believe that it's important to start, building one up at a time, because eventually, if you put too much capital and talent and knowledge very scattered across a geography, I think it takes more time to build an ecosystem. When really there are founders, investors, etc., that quickly learn from each other. So I think that what they did, for instance, in Paris, building the campus of Station F, has been really a good driver. I mean, and the rest of France we get way less. And I say yes, that's a concern, and I'm always glad to spot new hubs maybe coming up in other cities of France. But it's actually important to start somewhere. And I think that, I mean, it's clear that we are starting somewhere in Milan, about Italy. So I think we should really focus on the local ecosystem, and I don't know, like maybe build a talent station F there, because really in VC the concept of ecosystem is very important. People, knowledge, they must stay close to learn from each other.
How, just to challenge this idea though, I think it will become more and more difficult to actually understand the hubs, simply because of all the decentralization of teams across the island. You can find teams in the south of Italy, in the middle of nowhere, but then when they raise, they come to Milan. So how would that count? Is it a Milan raise? Is it like a southern Italy raise? Is it both? Does it matter? So that's I completely agree in terms of ecosystem to build like a solid dynamic, but I think it's going to be always more and more tricky to actually trigger sort of a very close and compact ecosystem, which is physical. But yeah, it doesn't have to be, maybe.
Yeah, like maybe you're referring to the trend of remote work.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think that actually remote work could help in the sense that since Italy is a nice place to live, people could come there actually maybe to work remotely for certain periods, and actually to transfer the knowledge that they have to the local ecosystem. But for the rest, I think that work will still be hybrid, especially in startups where you need to be there, where things move very, very fast. So okay, of course, maybe a tech team could be decentralized, but for the rest, I still believe in the power of ecosystems.
Cool.
Yes,
Fantastic.
I agree. So I think like about the commercial part of the startup, so the CEO, the business development part. Of course, it's better to be in a huge hub such as Milan, Rome, or a huge city, while I think that the rest of the team can work remotely. We are registering the work from everywhere trend, and so it's easier to attract resources, but it's even easier to do the first call with an investor. Before the COVID, it was so difficult because generally maybe 1 out of 30 calls are okay, and you get to the second step of the process. So now founders don't have to pay money to commute to meet face-to-face
good point.
investor, and they can just do an online call through Zoom or Google Meets, and it's way easier to fundraise as well. So
Beautiful. All right, let's talk about the new players. Actually, who do you guys think we're gonna see some good things from? Of course, the Primo Ventures, but
Primo Ventures.
Exactly, but Nick is already laughing. But do you think some of these guys that you mentioned between Exorseed, the tech shop, of course Primo, Sizer, Stellantis, a lot of like corporations are jumping in the venture capital like game. So what is your feel here?
I think Exor is really, you are the most beautiful news that we could have. They are really investing a lot, and they just announced recently that they will do the Kima venture, the Italian Kima ventures. But in reality, they are already backing some great companies, and they really are. They have a huge funds behind, so they can invest in pre-seed, seed, but then they can bake the company from pre-seed to the exit. So I think this is an incredible news for our ecosystem, and of course Primo Ventures, the service not so, but I think Niccolò can tell us better than us.
Well, no, I totally agree with Matteo, actually. So the point is that among all the players in the list, the only one who's changing the rules of the table, or actually taking the table and flipping it on the ground, is Exorseeds. So I think in a year we will be here trying to understand all the things that they've done in the meantime. So I'm really looking forward to see how the strategy spreads out. And the implications they will have on the ecosystem, because when you approach something in this way, they will probably at least partially change the dynamics in terms of pricing, in terms of the way investors at the early stage phases will look at deals. I just met one of the companies in the portfolio. They have other investors coming in that are people that I never heard about initially, and they're discussing the deal in those companies. So
fantastic.
This one will have an impact.
Very interesting.
And they are even extremely founders friendly. So their term sheet, I saw many of them, and they are founder friendly. They don't ask for seeds. So I think this is a great news.
They're gonna make my work much harder to do. Then now you can tell why I'm stressed out.
Okay, that's true. That's true. Better player makes the game better. I mean, let's see the positive side. But let me be a little controversial. Let's go back to CDP. 11 accelerators. What do you guys think about that? There are 11 accelerators being launched in the past year and a half, verticalized in different aspects, as you guys know. I don't know. Seems a lot.
Yeah, I think I already expressed my opinion on this. I would have preferred, to be honest, a big one like Station F, for instance, to really concentrate everything there. Then, of course, I understand the role of the government to actually, they need to promote all actually the territory of the country. So I understand what are the incentives. Then maybe it's a little bit, I think it's a challenge I see maybe if I really need to, is maybe to set a priori, a certain thematic for an accelerator, because you never know how the deal flow will be. So I think it's always nice to keep a little bit more vague on that in order to accept really the best founders, regardless of exactly what they're doing. So maybe being very, very specific could harm the work of these accelerators. But as a general thinking, I think that the more new operators we have in early stage, that helps founders and helps them with the fundamental of company building, the better it is eventually.
Yes, I disagree just in one small part. The problem of being generic is that you are building 20 different accelerators. We work with CDP. We are currently doing the automotive accelerator in Modena, and so what we observe is that, of course, there are synergies in different deal flows. So it's not always easy to maybe there are overlaps between one accelerator and another. So if you are too broad with the deal flow, it may happen that you have a lot of overlaps. But I totally agree with Ubaldo that, of course, the best founders have to be there. So it's not always easy to balance these kind of problems.
Excellent. All right, let's jump into the M&A and IPOs situation of Q1. So let's talk about the setting, the Orbit, Broom Broom, Rumi, and Ubenda. Any commentary on these ones?
Okay, of course, the Orbit. I mean, they reached a unicorn valuation. Of course, for the right definition of an unicorn, it's not a unicorn because it has to be on private markets, while they are going public through the SPAC. So it's different. But of course, congrats to the Orbit, another Turin-based company. So Giacomo, I think you are happy about this.
Oh, we're doing great. It's the air in the hills. It's good.
Yes. I mean, I agree. It's another proof point. You can build good, big businesses in Italy, and I'm sure that investors all over the world will notice. It's a pity that they're not that we can call them a unicorn, because it's a good marketing thing. but I'm sure that investors all over the place will notice. And I also would like to highlight Rumi, even if will not be. But I think that these are the stories that we need, these founders that gets a couple of million for an exit. They have good fundamental of company building, and so they have knowledge and capital to reinvest in the ecosystem. They could be an LP in some of your fund, or they could start another startup, and they will be much quicker to probably go in the journey of entrepreneurship because they already did it in the past. So this is, I think, extremely good news. Small ones, but every small breaks like this will make the ecosystem shine.
Beautiful.
Nicolo, please tell us more about Ubanda.
Yes.
I know that
we actually didn't have a lot of info, so we just took the press release, but
we saw the fun fact that they just raised 150K and that they bootstrapped the company into the exit. So I think it's really weird to see something like this.
Yes, the only thing I can tell is that I got my personal sniper with, the bullet ready to shoot me if I say anything that I shouldn't about the deal. It was a great deal. I can tell you this. One of those that make investors very happy, founders very happy, the ecosystem happy. Sniper. I want to add that I totally agree with Ubaldo. So Rumi might not be a great exit story for an investor, but it's a great exit story in terms of building the ecosystem. So having founders that have made the journey once, and the people working at the startup that enjoy the journey. So they saw the journey from the within. So they can bring that experience in other companies, in other startups, and that experience accumulates like an avalanche in a sense. So this is extremely important. We need more of those.
Beautiful. All right, so we are on the closing remarks. I want to jump straight to the end, and I love this part, which is what to expect for Q2. So you guys, the floor is yours.
Okay, of course, as we said before, Satispay and Casavo are getting closer to be the next Italian unicorns. We hope this, so let's see. But of course, we really expect an higher participation of international investors in Italian rounds. We can see through Exerseeds, to all the accelerators and international platforms which landed in Italy, as we mentioned in the previous article, such as Plug and Play, the Skydeck, but even Le Village, and a lot of international players have interest in our deal flow, and they are asking us to share Italian companies with them. So we really expect an higher participation of international investor, but even C2C. As we saw from the news, Stellantis has raised 300 million, while CNH Industrial will invest through balance sheet. So we really expect even an higher participation of CVC, that basically is extremely common in the US. Almost 50% of the deals, so 1 out of 2 has a CVC participation. In Italy, we don't have this kind of data, but we look forward to it as well.
Yeah, sure. My final 2 cents is, of course, we have some leads of potential big, European Italian companies that could raise rounds at unicorn valuation. My wish would be that to have at least 1 per quarter, to have been able to announce at least 1 per quarter. I think that if we keep that pace, that will be really, really great. And also like to see more new funds to make Nicolo's job even harder in the future quarters.
Speaking of which, Jack, my apologies if I could break your agenda, but you skipped a bit that I think it is very interesting, because we have 2 of the organizers of the Italian Founders Office Awards. And it will be very interesting to have some insight about what they are seeing coming up from the Italian ecosystem, because in those startups there are the future unicorns, hopefully. So guys, give us a 2 cents about our future.
So well, I mean, I think it's been a very nice initiative. There's really a strong willingness from all the people that work also abroad to do give back and to really help founders. So I was not part of the organizers, but I took part in the screening for my sector. So we did actually the sector breakdown over there. I actually had the chat also with one of your portfolio companies, Nicola, a very nice one. So I think that there's quality deal flow. Then I can share you, of course, more details with you in private.
Okay, but what's the feeling? Do you see, or if you have had the opportunity to speak to the other people of the team, of the organizers, are you seeing good opportunities coming up? Am I going to expect some investment in the next quarter?
No. I mean that. Like, the thing is, I cannot really say that because first we haven't debriefed yet. So I have my proof point on the 3 companies I told to, but 3 out of 500, I think it's not a good sample. So I don't really have the answer to your question. I think that I will have an answer either when I debrief or either when I go and check one by one all those companies that I think that I haven't done yet. So.
Please share with us the beautiful ones.
Yes,
exactly.
Of course.
Exactly.
All right, people, thank you so much for joining us to this quick fire round about the Q1 of 2022. It was a pleasure. I hope you to have for the Q2 actually, instead also like from now on. So thank you very much for joining, and I'll see everyone next week with the Week in Italian Startups.
Thank you very much,
Jack.
Bye bye.
Thank you, Matteo. Thank you,
Thanks
Ubaldo.
everyone. Bye bye.